Fox in Smash 4 was pretty good. He is both really fast and really strong, with Fox having amazing movement options, frame data, and he had a versatile toolkit which can cause major damage to his opponent very quickly. He is of course a really liked character, and his extreme fast solo stat has left him vulnerable to some pretty nasty sequences. But those things weren't enough to hold back Fox too much. Fox was consistently seen as one of the best characters in the game, and by the end of the game's competitive life, he was arguably as high as top 3. But Smash 4 did receive numerous patches, with the game changing quite a bit compared to earlier versions. Fox wasn't changed much, but he did still receive a few changes, and there is one move in particular which saw some interesting adjustments. Most of Fox's changes were made in the 1.1.0 patch, so for the first 9 months of the game, Fox did not receive any meaningful changes. Also, normal Fox represents earlier versions of the game, while custom color Fox represents the current version. To start off, Blaster used to have 3 more frames of ending lag. The lower ending lag makes Fox's lasers slightly safer than they used to be, making them slightly more effective projectiles overall. Fox's shine is pretty terrible as an attack in Smash 4 as the move is frame 6, it has no intangibility on startup, and it is extremely weak. Funnily enough though, it used to be even worse. In earlier versions, the hitbox was smaller and the move was even weaker than it is now. This is especially noticeable against aerial opponents, as the move not only used to deal a lot less knockback against them, it used to launch them at an upwards angle. It somewhat resembles an edge guarding tool now, but it didn't even do that launch, which was just wacky. These changes made Fox's shine a slightly less awful attack, although it is still a pretty dire offensive option in current Smash 4. Fox's down throw has a bit of a weird history. The lasers from Fox's down throw used to deal 2% each, with the throw dealing a total of 9%. Currently, however, the lasers only deal 1.5% each, with the throw dealing a total of 7%, which is 2% less. You might be thinking,
okay, this sounds like a pretty normal nerf, especially for a top tier character. How is this weird?
Well, I'm glad you asked. While the throw could deal up to 9% in earlier versions, it did not always reach that. Against a sizable chunk of the cast, the throw would only deal 7%. The reason why this happened was because down throw's lasers had shorter hitboxes, which meant that one of the lasers would whiff against skinnier characters. That was indeed a thing. You could get the full 9% against these opponents by throwing them at an edge, but a vast majority of the time, you were only dealing 7% to these opponents. So in later versions, they adjusted the laser hitboxes so that they would always hit every character, but the damage was reduced on the lasers to compensate. Against characters where the bug fix mattered, the throw still functioned more or less the same way as it did in earlier versions. Against characters where the bug did not matter, however, the move got a damage nerf. This was a perfectly reasonable change. I just find it kind of funny how the move used to work and how they ended up adjusting it. The last move which received adjustments was Jab, and this is the interesting move I mentioned earlier. Starting off with Jab 1, the move used to have 2 frames less ending lag. While this of course meant that the move was originally a bit safer, this change doesn't really matter much since you usually want to use more than just the first jab with Fox. Jab 1 also used to deal less knockback. Increasing its knockback might sound like a strange choice as it could make the move connect less reliably into the second hit in certain situations, but I think I know why they did this. First off, Jab 1 wasn't a true hit stun combo into the second hit at lower percent, so certain characters could escape it. This is no longer the case. Secondly, if you hit Bowser with Jab 1 in the final version, it will hit him as normal. But in earlier versions of the game, Bowser would just armor through Jab 1. Bowser could armor through the first hit of Jab until he was over 100%, which yeah, is kinda dumb. In the current version, however, Bowser can just never armor the move, so that's nice. Rapid Jab saw a whole bunch of improvements. For starters, the move has an early hit which then leads into the multi-hits. This early hit did not exist in earlier versions, which made Rapid Jab come out a lot slower. The opponent only has 6 frames to interrupt or trade with Rapid Jab after Jab 2 on shield in the final version. In earlier versions, however, the opponent had 13 frames to interrupt or trade, which made it way easier for the opponent to punish Fox. Certain characters could even avoid the Rapid Jab on hit at lower percent, so it's just no longer possible. The Rapid Jab itself has more range and the hitboxes were adjusted to make the move connect more reliably. The multi-hits used to launch opponents horizontally and they were more SDIable, so a savvy opponent could get out of the Rapid Jab relatively consistently. The multi-hits now launch the opponent vertically and they are less SDIable, so the move is more reliable and it cannot be escaped as consistently. Funnily enough though, at certain ranges and percents, Bowser can armor through the rapid jab, which he could not do in earlier versions. So that's something that's worse now, I guess. The final hit is also significantly larger than it used to be. The move fully covers Fox's foot and it has a lot of range, but originally, it did not fully cover Fox's foot, so the ender was just not as reliable as it is now. And that is everything they changed about Fox in Smash 4.
Hold it right there. You didn't talk about Jab 2.
Yeah, you didn't talk about Jab 2. Oh yes, how could I forget about Jab 2? Jab 2 has 3 frames more ending lag than it used to, which of course makes it more unsafe than it was before. The move also deals more knockback now, and its launch angles were adjusted, and this is where things get really interesting. In the final version, Jab 2 knocks the opponent quite far away if you land it close, while if you land it further away, it launches the opponent upwards. Fox can chain multiple jabs together, and the near hit is capable of doing this at fairly high percents. You can't chain together too many jabs, however, as Jab 2 sends the opponent fairly far away from Fox by the time it combos. The far hit, on the other hand, can combo into jab a lot sooner, as it has more knockback compared to the near hit. It can not only lead into more jabs, but it can also lead into various other follow-ups. Jab into up tilt works at a sizable percent window, which is a very good thing, as Fox's up tilt is a very effective move in Smash 4. At high enough percents, you can even get an up smash for a KO confirm. It is kind of wild just how effective this frame 2 jab is. You can chain the move into itself a few times, you can confirm into a combo move, or you can confirm into a KO move in the right situations. It is definitely a pretty strong jab overall, but in earlier versions, it worked quite differently. Jab 2 pretty much always launched the opponent vertically, and it had less knockback. This meant that the move had less hit stun, although the move's lower ending lag could give the near hitbox slightly better frame advantage at certain percents. The far hitbox, however, functioned the same way as the near hitbox originally, so it had less frame advantage than it does now, even with the lower ending lag. This overall made the move's follow-up potential more limited at lower percents, but at higher percents, Fox could still chain jabs together. And well, it looked like this. Yeah, this was kind of dumb. Fox could chain his jabs against low tier characters earlier, but fast forwarders would get stuck in the chain for longer once it became a true combo. You would be very lucky to get more than 3 loops in the final version, but in earlier versions, you could get a lot more. And I mean a lot more. If the Fox player could chain jabs perfectly, the only thing the opponent could really do is try an SDI out. The opponent already eventually fell out of the chain without SDI, and SDI could be used to escape sooner. I'm not sure how effective this would have been, since it is not something I can easily test, but you could definitely use it to get out of jab loops considerably sooner. So Fox's Jab 2 changed quite a bit, and I have to say, it is kind of hard to tell whether it is better or worse now. It really depends on how effective the old Jab 2 chains would have been against strong SDI. While the increased ending lag and losing the extended Jab 2 chains negatively affected the move, the devs also gave the move some compensation buffs to make up for it. For some reason. They gave the move more ending lag, but the move has more knockback, which means that Fox still has more or less the same amount of time to follow up out the move at close ranges. Not only that, but the move also now has a sweet spot at far ranges, which flat out gives the move combo potential in instances where it did not have before. Jab up tilt worked much sooner at percents where it really mattered. Jab up smash could be a true KO confirm at practical percents where it was previously a more situational setup. They definitely adjusted the move in an interesting way. Nerfing the most toxic thing that the move could previously do, but giving it some extra utility it did not have before. Did they really need to compensate for the removal of the extended jab chains? No! Absolutely not. Fox is a very good character who did not need compensation buffs at all, but he got some anyway. And that's basically everything that was changed about Fox, but before I finish, I need to talk about Smash 4's mechanic changes and how they affected Fox. In the vanilla 3DS version, it was possible to LSI vertical launching moves, something which would be removed in all later versions. For Fox, this different DI system might have been better for him as it made him harder to combo and KO, alleviating one of his main weaknesses. It did mean that his up tilt was a less consistent combo starter at a higher percent and his up smash and up air were less consistent KO moves, but I don't think this really mattered too much. Up smash only KO'd around 11% later with optimal DI, and all of Fox's up smash confirmed still worked. Late nair, landing dare, drag down fair, pivot F tilt, all still worked, especially with the untechable real Smash 4 had. It's just that the opponent had a chance to survive them for slightly longer than in later versions, but LSI still could not save them beyond those percents. Up air was considerably more survivable at higher percents, but Fox could still get a million up airs at lower percents for a million damage. Up tilt was still a nasty move, and its quick speed even meant that you could not DI it on reaction. The vanilla 3DS version did not have as many devastating combos or KO confirms due to the different LSI system, so Fox having these setups stood out even more relative to the cast. Vertical LSI was removed by the time the Wii U version came out, and while this completely transformed a handful of other characters, it didn't improve Fox's combo potential or KO potential all that much, in addition to making him much more vulnerable to all the new combos and KO confirms which came with the new LSI system. So I think he was probably worse off in early Wii U versions compared to vanilla 3DS. In 1.1.1, shield stun was increased while shield pushback was reduced, and this didn't really have a significant impact on Fox. His attacks became safer, but his out of shield punishment became weaker, with the changes not really being a concrete net positive or negative for him. I do, however, want to highlight the differences on shield with a few of his moves.
He's doing this to pad the runtime, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Fox's auto-cancel back air went from -4 on shield, being safe in most matchups, to 0 on shield with less pushback. Not only being completely safe on shield now, but also giving him a free mix-up if the opponent does not stay in shield, something he often did not have originally. Back air can auto-cancel against even the shortest characters as a side note. His landing down air is currently -14 on shield, which is quite bad, but it was originally around -30 on shield, which is a lot worse. Lastly, his rapid jab is currently -26 on shield, which is already super unsafe, but it was originally around -40, which speaks for itself. Overall, Fox didn't really change that much throughout Smash 4's life. Most of the changes he did receive were relatively minor, and it's hard to say whether the one move that was significantly changed became better or worse. As toxic as the original jab loop was, it might not have been that bad with optimal counterplay, and the move flat out got compensation buffs which gave it extra utility. Whether Fox is better or worse now than he was at launch depends on how powerful the original jab loop would have been against optimal counterplay. It was absolutely ridiculous, but if SGI was strong enough against the move, the compensation buffs jab received might have made up for it. But the weird thing about Fox is that despite consistently being a top tier, he mostly received buffs. Fox is a character who absolutely did not need buffs, but he got some anyway. Sure, they weren't anything major, and his jab buffs were largely compensation buffs for nerfs he received, but the fact that they buffed a character as good as Fox is definitely strange. I guess some things never change. I believe that Fox was easily one of the best characters in the vanilla 3DS version, potentially being up to top 3 if I had to guess. I think he fell off a bit going into the Wii U version as other top tiers benefited from the universal changes more than he did, but he still would have been a top tier, and as the game progressed further, many of the other top tiers were nerfed while he largely stayed the same, solidifying him as one of the best characters by the end of the game's patch cycle, even with the introduction of them.
Thanks for watching,
guys.
Just smash the like button, comment and subscribe.